What if just 6 months from today, your life looked completely different? What if the doubt was gone? What if the fear that's been holding you back was finally silent? What if you walked into a room and people felt your presence, not because you were loud, not because you tried to prove something, but because you finally knew who you were? Let that sink in. 6 months. That's all it takes to go from being lost in your thoughts to leading them. That's all it takes to stop surviving and start building. You see, most people wait for the perfect moment. They wait for motivation to strike like lightning. They wait for signs, for someone to push them, for the world to change. But high achievers, leaders, they don't wait. They decide, and today, you can decide too. This is not just another video. This is not just some rah-rah motivational speech. This is a moment, your moment, to get real with yourself. Because somewhere inside you is the life you could be living. Somewhere inside you is a leader waiting to rise, a speaker waiting to be heard, a version of you that doesn't chase approval because they lead with purpose. But here's the truth. That version won't appear by accident. It will take focus. It will take discipline. It will take showing up when it's hard, and especially when it's lonely. But the reward is power, not over people, over yourself. You'll speak and people will listen, not because you shout, but because your words are sharp, clear, and unshakable. You'll walk with direction, not because you know every step ahead, but because you trust your own rhythm. The question is, are you ready to begin? Because in this video, you'll learn how to build a 6-month plan that rewires your habits, strengthens your mind, and upgrades the way you communicate, not just with others, but with yourself. And here's the promise. If you stay with this till the end, if you commit just these next few minutes to learning how successful people think, speak, and show up, then something inside you will shift. You'll start seeing life differently. You'll start seeing yourself differently. This is the kind of content that doesn't just sound good. It sticks with you. It becomes part of you. It changes the way you carry yourself, the way you set goals, the way you deal with silence, pressure, and rejection. But you have to want it. You have to want to change more than you want to stay comfortable. You have to be tired of talking and finally ready to become. Because here's what psychology tells us. Human beings don't change when they understand. They change when they feel, when something inside them finally breaks through the noise. So let today be that moment. Let this be your reminder that time doesn't wait. You don't get to pause life, but you do get to shift it. And in 6 months, when you speak, you won't just be heard, you'll be remembered. So if you're serious about change, if you're ready to rise, then don't just watch casually. Watch with hunger. Watch with focus. Because by the end of this video, you'll have the map. And all that will be left is the journey. Stay with me till the end, and you'll walk away with more than motivation. You'll walk away with momentum. Let's get brutally honest, because the truth is, the cost of not changing is everything. You say you'll start tomorrow. You say you'll speak up next time. You say you'll be more confident, more consistent, more focused. One day, but one day never shows up. And in the quiet moments when no one's around, you feel it. That ache, that nagging feeling in your chest, like you were meant for more, but you're stuck in the same loop. Same habits, same patterns, same voice in your head telling you you're not ready. But here's what no one tells you. Staying the same hurts more than failing, because at least failure teaches you something. Staying stuck, that teaches you to shrink. You begin to doubt yourself. You start walking into rooms thinking, what if I'm not good enough? You hold back your ideas. You avoid hard conversations. You settle, not because you want to, but because the fear of change feels bigger than the pain of being stuck. And that is the trap. Human psychology is wired to seek comfort, even when that comfort is toxic. The brain would rather stay in familiar pain than step into unfamiliar power. But ask yourself, how long are you willing to stay there? Because the longer you wait to change, the heavier it gets. You lose time. You lose energy. You lose the fire inside you, until one day you wake up and realize you were never waiting on the right moment. You were just avoiding the work. But if you've come this far, then part of you is done with the old story, done being quiet, done being overlooked. Done watching others live the life you know you could live too. This is your turning point, not because someone gave it to you, but because you decided the pain of staying the same is no longer worth the price. Clarity is power. When your mind is foggy, your life becomes noisy. You wake up, but you don't know why. You move, but you're not going anywhere. You feel busy, but you're not productive. That's what happens when you live without a plan. Most people aren't lazy, they're just lost. They don't need more motivation, they need direction. And that's the shift, when you stop drifting and start deciding, because the moment you build a clear plan, your brain gets a target. And the human brain loves targets. Psychology proves it. When you set a goal, your mind filters everything around you to make it real. It becomes more alert, more focused, more determined. A clear plan gives your energy a path. It helps you say no to what doesn't matter and yes to what builds your future. It creates order from chaos. You stop waking up in confusion. You stop chasing random success. You start creating meaningful progress. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a perfect system or a 10-step method. You just need intention. Ask yourself, what do I want 6 months from now? Who do I want to become? Or what would it take daily to move toward that? Write it, own it. Because once your plan lives on paper, it starts to live in your actions. That's when the world around you changes, because the world inside you is finally organized. When your mind is clear, your words are strong. When your goals are sharp, your presence becomes magnetic. That's not just success, that's leadership. And it all begins with a plan. The most powerful voice in your life is the one in your head. Every day you talk to yourself, and most of the time you don't even realize it. But your brain is listening. Every word you say to yourself is shaping what you believe, what you feel, and what you become. Tell yourself you're not good enough, and you'll start to act like it. Tell yourself you're not ready, and you'll hesitate when it matters most. Tell yourself you always fail, and failure will start to feel like your identity. This is not about positive thinking. This is about mental reprogramming. Because if you don't control your inner voice, it will control you. And most people, they let their past write their self-talk. They let every mistake, every rejection, every wound become the author of their mind. But leaders, real leaders, rewrite the script. They speak to themselves like someone they respect. They use language that pushes them forward, not language that holds them down. You are not weak for talking to yourself. You are powerful when you talk to yourself on purpose. You wake up and you say, I am not here to hide. I am here to rise. I may not be perfect, but I am not powerless. I'm not waiting for permission. I am choosing progress. Every time you do this, you shift your identity. And identity is what drives behavior. When you believe you're focused, you act focused. When you believe you're a communicator, your voice gets louder. When you believe you're a leader, your presence changes. This is how transformation begins, not from the outside, but from the inside. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about reminding yourself, I've been through hard things before, and I am not done yet. Change the way you talk to yourself, and you'll change the way you show up to the world. Success doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do daily. Big dreams are built on small disciplines, and if you can master your habits, you can master your future. You don't need to fix your whole life overnight. You just need to win the day. That's it. Wake up with a purpose. Decide the night before what matters most. Then attack it with focus before distractions steal your fire. Here's the truth. Your mind loves patterns. It craves repetition. So when you build consistent habits, your brain starts to follow without resistance. You don't need motivation every day. You need a system that runs when your emotions don't. You build the system by starting small. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Read 10 pages. Speak one truth to yourself in the mirror. Plan your priorities, not your tasks, your priorities. These small actions compound, and over time they shape the person you're becoming. Psychology calls it the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. Set your cues, stick to your routine, celebrate the win. Your brain starts associating progress with pleasure. That's how you build momentum. And when you start stacking wins, even tiny ones, your confidence grows. You start walking differently, thinking differently, speaking differently. It's not magic, it's math. Repetition plus intention equals transformation. You won't see the result on day one, but stay consistent for 6 months, everything changes. Because the person with the strongest habits doesn't need to prove anything. Their life speaks for them. Build your days with discipline, and your life will start leading itself. Clarity fuels confidence. When you don't know what you're chasing, everything feels overwhelming. But when your goals are clear, your path becomes powerful. You don't need 100 goals. You need 3. 3 unbreakable, non-negotiable, deeply personal goals that align with who you want to become. Not what impresses people, not what sounds good online, but what speaks directly to your heart. Ask yourself, what would I be proud of achieving in the next 6 months? What would truly change my life if I stayed committed? What do I keep thinking about but never follow through on? The answers to those questions, that's your direction. Now here's the key. Each goal must be specific. Get better isn't a goal. Wake up at 6 a.m. every day to train my mind and body is. Be more confident isn't a goal. Speak clearly and directly in every meeting, no matter how nervous I feel is. Your brain needs something to aim at, and when the target is clear, focus becomes easier. Distractions lose their power. Once your 3 goals are set, make them public, not for attention, but for accountability. Tell yourself, these are the promises I will not break, even when I'm tired, even when I doubt, even when no one is watching. That's how confidence is built, by keeping promises to yourself. You don't rise by setting easy goals. You rise by setting goals that scare you and chasing them anyway. 3 clear goals, 6 months of discipline, that's the formula. You don't need more time. You need more commitment to what matters most. You can't grow in the same soil that kept you stuck. Your environment is not neutral. It's either building you or breaking you, either pulling you forward or quietly pulling you down. Look around. What fills your space? Or what fills your mind? Who do you listen to every day? Because here's the truth. If you're surrounded by noise, laziness, and fear, you will absorb it. Even if you're strong, even if you're focused, your environment will shape your energy. Psychology calls this behavioral influence. You mirror what you see. You rise or fall to the level of your surroundings. So be honest with yourself. Who challenges you to think bigger? Who reminds you of your goals when you drift? Who believes in you when doubt creeps in? And just as important, what digital environment are you feeding on? Is your screen filled with distractions, empty noise, meaningless comparison? Or are you feeding your mind with fire, content that builds, voices that strengthen, words that remind you who you really are? Success isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you allow. You have the power to curate your space, to choose your circle, to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Start with small shifts. Clean your space. Silence toxic input. Follow people who push you higher. Spend time with those who talk about ideas, not just other people. Your environment should reflect your standards. It should breathe focus, vision, and discipline. You can't live a new life in an old atmosphere. So change the room, change the voices, and watch your mindset follow. Every leader, every high achiever knows this truth. Your words shape your world. When you learn to communicate with power, everything changes. People start listening. Doors start opening. Opportunities start flowing. But here's the part most people miss. You don't need to speak more. You need to speak with purpose. It's not about being loud. It's about being clear. It's about knowing what you want to say and saying it without shrinking. When you speak with certainty, people feel it. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's alignment between your thoughts and your voice. Your words reveal what you believe, and when your communication matches your inner strength, you become magnetic. Here's what psychology shows us. People respond more to tone and presence than to the actual words. If your energy is scattered, your words lose weight. But when you speak from clarity, people lean in. So how do you sharpen it? Start by slowing down. Own your pauses. Speak less, but mean more. Use strong, simple language, not filler, not fluff. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Speak from truth, not from fear. Don't soften your voice just to be liked. Don't apologize for being direct. Because clarity is kindness, and confidence is service. Great communication starts from within. It starts when you believe your voice matters, when you stop second-guessing every sentence, when you realize silence may feel safe, but it never builds legacy. So speak. Even if your voice shakes, speak your vision. Speak your ideas. Speak your worth. Your words will teach the world how to treat you. So choose them with power and use them with purpose. Let's face it, fear doesn't stop you from failing. It stops you from trying. And that's the real danger. Not the failure itself, but the silence, the hesitation, the wasted time. Most people don't lack talent. They lack permission. Permission to mess up. Permission to fall short. Permission to not get it right the first time. But here's what psychology teaches us. The brain is designed to protect you. It wants safety, certainty. So when it senses risk, it screams, don't do it. But growth only lives outside that comfort zone. If you only move when you feel ready, you'll never move at all. Failure isn't the enemy. Staying small is. Every person you admire failed over and over again. But they kept going because they saw failure not as a wall, but as a mirror that showed them where to grow, what to fix, how to level up. You grow fastest when you're uncomfortable. You become stronger when you're tested. You learn who you are when the plan breaks, and you rebuild anyway. So stop waiting for guarantees. Start acting with grit. Speak when your voice shakes. Show up when you feel invisible. Take the risk when your hands are trembling, because every time you walk through fear, it gets smaller. Every time you survive a failure, your courage grows. Don't let your potential die in the prison of perfection. Be bold enough to fail. Be brave enough to rise again. This isn't about being fearless. It's about choosing freedom over fear. Why to think you're working hard? Easy to feel like you're moving forward. But without tracking, you're just guessing. Success isn't built on guesses. It's built on data. And your life is the project. When you start tracking your progress daily, weekly, monthly, something shifts. Your goals stop being wishes. They become targets. Your actions stop being random. They become results-driven. Psychology calls it the feedback loop. Your brain craves feedback. It wants to know, am I growing? Am I getting better? Is what I'm doing even working? That feedback builds motivation because even small progress feels powerful when you see it. Start simple. Track your habits. Track your energy. Track your emotions. Track how often you do the things that actually move the needle. Not to judge yourself, but to guide yourself. Tracking creates awareness, and awareness is the beginning of change. When you track, you spot patterns. You realize where you drift, where you get stuck, where you shine. You make smarter choices. You make fewer excuses. You stop relying on memory and start living with precision. Because growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden in the numbers, in the days you showed up when no one noticed, in the small habits you stacked when motivation was gone. That's where real change lives. So track your effort. Track your time. Track your wins. Make your progress visible so your purpose stays unshakable. Motivation is loud, but discipline is loyal. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel strong, but you don't need to. You just need to follow through. Discipline means doing it anyway, when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one claps. It's waking up early when your body begs for sleep. It's showing up when your mind whispers excuses. It's pushing through the silence, through the setbacks, through the slow days. Because here's the truth. Self-discipline is self-respect. It's the highest form of self-love. You do what you said you'd do, not because it's easy, but because you are not a quitter. Your brain might resist. It might scream for comfort. But the moment you say, no, this matters more, that's the moment you take control. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being clear with yourself. You know where you're going. You know what it takes. So you eliminate the noise and get to work. Over time, discipline rewires your identity. You stop asking, can I do this? You start declaring, this is who I am. Psychology proves this. When you act consistently, even in discomfort, your brain adapts. It starts seeing the hard things not as pain, but as progress. Discipline becomes freedom. because now you choose your path. You don't wait, you create. You don't need motivation to change your life, you need a standard, and the courage to stick to it. So move with purpose, act with intention, and remind yourself, discipline is destiny. Chasing results can blind you, but honoring the process, that transforms you. Most people quit because the outcome doesn't show up fast enough. They want instant proof, immediate validation. But growth doesn't work like that. You don't plant a seed and dig it up the next day to check the roots. You water it. You protect it. You trust the process, even when there's nothing to show yet. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop obsessing. You stop tying your worth to results. You stop letting success or failure define your identity. Why? Because your control lives in the process, in the action, in the effort, not in the scoreboard. When you focus only on the goal, your emotions rise and fall with progress. But when you focus on the system, you stay grounded, you stay consistent. You build results instead of chasing them. Psychology calls this a process mindset. It shifts your focus from, will I make it, to who am I becoming? And when that shift happens, everything gets lighter. You stop rushing. You start growing. You begin to love the quiet days. You start enjoying the reps. You realize the journey is the reward. Detach from the outcome. Fall in love with the routine. Put your soul into the work and let the results take care of themselves. Because greatness isn't earned in one moment. It's forged in the unseen, the unglamorous, the unshared. So show up. Work hard. And trust this truth, the process is always paying you, even before the world does. Your life will never rise above your standards. Not your dreams, not your motivation, your standards. Because standards are your invisible boundaries. They decide what you tolerate, what you chase, and what you become. You don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to demand from yourself consistently. If you keep saying, I want to succeed, but accept laziness, distraction, and doubt, that's not a dream, that's a wish. Real change begins when you say, I don't live like that anymore, not because someone told you to, but because your identity has outgrown that old version of you. High standards don't make life harder. They make decisions easier. You stop wasting time on excuses. You stop negotiating with your own weakness. You start choosing the hard thing on purpose. Why? Because your future deserves more than your comfort. And here's what most people miss. Raising your standards doesn't mean perfection. It means ownership. You take full responsibility. You own your energy. You own your focus. You hold yourself to a level that most people never will. Psychology backs this. When you see yourself as someone who holds high standards, your actions begin to match. Your confidence grows. Your consistency improves. Your mindset shifts from I hope I can to this is just who I am. So ask yourself, what am I tolerating that no longer serves me? What level of effort, discipline, and truth do I expect from myself daily? Because the world doesn't set your standards. You do. Raise them, and your life will rise to meet them. Your energy is your most valuable currency, not your time, not your money, your energy. Because no matter how much time you have, if your energy is drained, your focus fades, your purpose weakens, your passion dies. And yet, most people give it away carelessly. They let toxic conversations steal it. They let constant distractions bleed it. They carry emotional weights that don't even belong to them. You have to learn this. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone gets access to your peace. And not every thought deserves to stay in your mind. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's essential. It's the foundation of clarity, resilience, and deep motivation. Psychology calls this emotional regulation. It's the ability to manage what enters your space and how it affects your state. If your mind is cluttered, your goals become blurry. If your soul is heavy, your discipline cracks. But when your energy is strong, you move with power. You think clearly, you show up fully. So ask yourself, what drains me? Who drains me? What habits pull me away from the person I'm trying to become? Now ask, what restores me? What reminds me of my mission? What builds my fire back up? Build your life around those answers. You don't need to do everything. You need to protect what matters most. Your energy. Set boundaries. Say no without guilt. Create space for silence, focus, reflection. You're not here to survive your days. You're here to own them. And that starts by guarding your energy like a treasure, because that's exactly what it is. Success doesn't belong to the smartest. It belongs to the most committed, because commitment changes everything. It kills distraction. It silences doubt. It breaks every excuse. When you commit fully, there's no maybe, no backup plan, no halfway energy. It's all in or not at all. That's the mindset that builds empires. That's the spirit that transforms lives. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need to decide. Decide that you will not quit. Decide that your dream is not up for negotiation. Decide that no matter how hard it gets, you will rise again. Psychology proves this. When you fully commit to something, your brain rewires. It stops looking for exits. It starts looking for solutions. You become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You'll still face storms. You'll still get tired. You'll still feel fear, but you won't let those things lead you. Because when you're truly committed, failure becomes feedback. Obstacles become training. Time becomes your ally. So today, draw the line, make the vow, set the standard. This is not just a plan. This is your path. This is your transformation. Give it everything. Hold nothing back. Commit like your life depends on it, because the life you want does